Go ahead.
And let me unmute myself. So let me start over. Welcome everyone. My name is Matt Glasser. Very excited to have you guys here for our next item in our training series. This one's focusing specifically on before and after studies with some of our RITIS tools that we have available to us. I'm very excited to have John Allen with us today, and I'll get into his bio here in a second. Some housekeeping items first. For those of you that have not yet taken the opportunity, there are some files that you can download. You can find those below you in the YouTube comments. Go ahead and get those downloaded. That'll help us move through the process a little bit more seamlessly. And again, if you haven't already, go ahead and log in to pda.ritis.org, and that is pda.ritis.org. Unfortunately, Chuck Bailey from KCI cannot make it today, but he did want to extend his thanks for attending and his excitement for this training as well. We're very appreciative of KCI for sponsoring this event. And with that, let me go ahead and introduce our speaker today, John Allen. John Allen serves as a liaison and educator for the Center for Advanced Transportation Technology Laboratory, also known as the CATT Lab at the University of Maryland. John also assists in user experience and user interface development, QA/QC, manages special projects, and aids in developing strategic directions for the Regional Integrated Transportation Information System, which is known as RITIS. John has also acted as a facilitator for a number of different organizations, including the East Coast Transportation Coalition, formerly known as the I-95 Corridor Coalition, and the Partners in Using Archived Operations Data. Prior to joining the CATT Lab, John was section chief of the Bureau of Commuter and Mobility Strategies at the New Jersey Department of Transportation, with over 30 years of experience in planning, corridor analysis, and system mobility. John's work in system performance helped establish NJDOT's first performance dashboard concept, expedited the creation of the department's asset management policies, and standardized the use of the PDA Suite for problem identification. He has also been instrumental in forming and chairing a number of partnerships to utilize and integrate probe data analytics and system performance into transportation planning, traffic operations, and project and program development, such as the PDA Suite, user group, and complete teams, which is a collaborative construction construct between New Jersey's planners and operators to facilitate better coordination and system evaluation. John received his Bachelor's of Science degree in Civil Engineering from the Pennsylvania State University and a Public Manager certification from Rutgers University. The short version of this is John knows what he's talking about. He's been around for quite a long time, and it is a great asset that we have available to him. So thank you very much, John. Let me hand it over to you to really take it from here.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Can you hear me, everybody?
We can, yes.
Awesome. Okay, I'm always amazed when somebody reads my bio, how great I sound, and I'm really not. But that's what 34 years of stuff will give you. So I'm going to set myself up here to share my screen, get my presentation up, and get that running. Can you see that?
We can, yes.
Okay. So good morning, everybody. And thank you, Matt, for inviting me here today to talk to you guys about how to create a before and after report using our RITIS tools and summary templates that we've been developing over the last several months. This presentation is going to be pretty brisk, and then I want to get right to how to do these templates. And it's going to be kind of a two-part, three-part thing. You'll understand it more when we get to that. But first, just to get everybody on the same page, because I really don't know a lot of you folks in ITS. I only know Matt and some others at Georgia DOT. But in case you didn't know, RITIS is the Regional Integrated Transportation Information System. Basically what it is a big data aggregation and dissemination platform, taking lots of data out there from lots of different sources, fusing them and disseminating them in a number of different tools that we have available for you all. It's used for situational awareness if you're an operator, and we also archived all the data for deep dive analysis that's used by both planners and operators. It's used by thousands of users nationwide, and in case you don't know about it, we have a RITIS user group that was formed probably 5 years ago to do different things. We meet quarterly to share best practices. The folks hear about the latest features from the CATT labs. And then we have a segment in the meetings to talk about what improvements or what kind of features or functions folks would like to have in the tools. So there's two web addresses there. I highly recommend you check them out. One is our ritis.org, which will take you to our RITIS landing page. You can see all the tools and read about things, get video tutorials, lots of information there that I think would be helpful. And then Eastern Transportation Coalition, I-95 Coalition was much easier to say, also has a website that has each RITIS user group presentation on it. And there's a lot of great use cases there for you to look at. We call these spotlight presentations that cover the gamut. I mean, there's planning, there's operating, using all the tools in real world situations that might be interesting and applicable to some of the things you're doing. So this is just a quick screenshot from that ritis.org landing page I was telling you about, showing our tool catalog. There's 43 tools shown here. There's actually one more that we just deployed recently. If we have time today, I'll show you that real quick. So you can see a number of different things out there for you to use for a number of different ways. In the RITIS page 2, there's different sections about what RITIS can do for you. I picked this one because this talks about specifically doing before and after studies, which we're going to do today, but obviously lots of different things that the tools can do for you to help you in your job, especially given the financial difficulties everybody's having right now with COVID and just working at a DOT. And I know I've worked for 30 years. There's financial constraints all the time, lots of work, little money. So the tools will really help facilitate good products with really relatively little cost and especially hardly any effort given some of the ways you used to do work. So not only are we doing before and after templates at the CATT lab, but we have a number of different reporting types we're also addressing. This is the list from A to W of what we're accomplishing, and we have a couple more in the hopper there too. But as we move forward with finalizing these different templates and other supporting information, we'll get these out to folks so you can start using them. I just wanted to touch real quickly on the performance reporting working group that we put together. Basically, it's a group of folks, they're all power users of the tools that got together to come up with these templates and fine tune them and get them out to you to be able to better communicate all this complicated information to different audiences in a very persuasive and precise way. Here's the members here, the team, the gang of 8, I guess you'd call them. Myself and Charles Latimer are from the CATT lab, and they have a number of different folks working in planning, operations, DOTs, MPOs up and down the East Coast. It's a really good group of folks that have a lot of experience using the tools and are very dynamic and forward thinking. So the project that we want to talk about today is something that Georgia DOT had already done, which is a signal operation improvement for SR 41 Peachtree Road in DeKalb County, Georgia. So what we did in developing these templates is Matt and his consultant team had pulled together a really nice report, a couple of different versions of it. So I took one of those versions and I guess reimagined it in sort of like the same fashion as we're doing the other templates. You'll see what that looks like in a second. We're going to focus on 4 tools today: bottleneck ranking, performance charts, performance summaries, and user delay costs. These are the tools that Georgia DOT used to develop their report. So this is not their report. This is the reimagined report. So real quickly, we have a project summary page here, looking a little bit of the project background, some key quarter details, a little bit about what the project did in terms of the improvements, a very simple location map showing the intersections there, a description of the RTOP program, and some timeline information specifically about this project, and then a graphical timeline down here about how it moved forward to conception to deployment. And then on the second page, this is where we're really going to focus a lot of our attention today. It's the performance results from the tools that show how much the project improved the situation on the ground. So up top in terms of speed, next in terms of the bottlenecks that we're experiencing at some of the intersections, what's the reliability of the corridor? How did that change with this project? And finally, some delay costs and other factors that improved pretty dramatically from the project. Now, another thing that GDOT developed with their consultants was this infographic style layout of the information. I think it's a really great example of how you can take what you just saw and even condense it down further into something that you could pretty much pass along to anybody. The media, public citizens, legislators, those folks that really don't have much of an understanding of the technical details of things. And this really tells it everything, just very few words, but very persuasive and powerful in terms of some of the results that it's showing here. 2 things that we're going to provide for folks when we roll out these templates are how-to guides, and this is the latest version, pretty much approved for stepping through each process, each page to make the reports. And for the example, this one's how to make the cover page. We want to make sure folks understand exactly how things were done and give them step-by-step to do those things. And the second is design sheets. And what these are some of the graphics that you saw on the previous page, but fully editable here with some additional things, like in this example, the reliability graphics. There's some choices of icons to put in the center of that particular graphic. But what helps here is to have these design sheets. You can edit them any way you want, change them any way you want, and then you copy them and then paste them into your report. It just makes it a lot easier, because a lot of times when you're doing these graphics and you put them in a report and you start resizing or things like that, they tend to get skewed out or things change not to your liking. So this is a good way to make the changes you need to and then get them into the report. So I want to just break down the 2 areas that we're going to focus on today. This first one, we're going to give this like maybe 2 minutes. And this is basically building the two covers, the front cover and the back cover, and then talking about adding your project info in these sheets. You should have, as Matt said, downloaded from, I guess it's YouTube out there, this project assessment report. I call it a blank template. It's not blank, but it's an editable template that you can use to add your own information related to your particular project. And then same thing for the front and back covers. But what we're really going to spend a lot of time on today is what I call the RITIS roadmap, how to build this performance report, starting with running some queries from your project using these 4 tools. Then once you run the query, you're going to get results. They're going to be visualizations and tables. You're going to take that and maybe use as is, or we could post-process that. You could see an example of taking this particular performance summary visual, post-processing it from some of the XML data that's available there, and grabbing some of the important information that's highlighted in bars there, calculating some numbers, and then we're going to take that, put them in the design sheets in these 3 different graphics: reliability, travel time, buffer time, planning time, and then finally you enter that into the report, and we're going to build this report, those 4 sections. So in the end, you'll have a nice page that tells the story. So right now I'd like to move on to the actual virtual training part of this thing. You should have PDA Suite landing page up and running by now. If you don't, please do that at the moment. And then those 2 documents that I told you about that Matt had mentioned previously was the before and after blank template, open and minimize, and then the design sheet package, open and minimized on your desktop. Hopefully you have dual monitors. It'll make it a lot easier on you, but if not, we'll just take that in consideration and walk you through it. Now at this point, Matt, are there any questions or issues coming up?
None so far, but I'm keeping my eye on it.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so here we are at the PDA Suite landing page, and we're going to, as I said, use 4 tools here: performance charts, performance summaries, bottleneck ranking, and the user delay cost analysis. You can see there's another number of other different tools here too. All great. A lot of people love the trend map, the congestion scan, and there's some new tools here too, like the travel time delta ranking, temporal comparison map, which is brand new. That's the one that was just released not too long ago, maybe a month ago. And I should also point out that there's a number of different tutorials down here. So if you click on that, you can watch videos of how to step through each tool in terms of querying the data. And then once you get on the results page, how to use the results page to get to certain visuals or summaries that will help you. So let's start out. Oh, before we move on, I would like you guys to open a second tab up top on your browser and type in the Probe Data Analytics Suite address again, and I'll explain why that you have to do that later. So you should have 2 Probe Data Analytics Suite pages up. Just pick one, and then we're going to step through this thing. All right. So let's start out with, we're going to start out with user delay cost. So just click on the link right there. And you'll right away get a warning that the volume data used to generate this report may not be as precise enough for your analysis. It's basically the volume data for most folks comes from HPMS data, but there are some who will provide specific volume data for their states to us, and we could take that in. So this is something to keep in mind. I believe that Georgia provides their own data source. You can see right there, Georgia 2018 right there. So there's some Georgia specific data that's better than HPMS in the database. So all these screens you see here, the query screens on the left, are all very much similarly built for each tool. So that way you're not going to have to think too much about how you go through this thing and choose things. It's pretty much become second nature once you've used these tools for a while. So the first thing you do, you select the data source. Georgia uses here data, so we're going to select here. Now here's where you select your road. You just type in your road number, hit search or find. And then it's going to give you a list of some locations that had those numbers in there or all the numbers. So we're going to pick this one, Georgia 141, which has 33 intersections. And it's 56 miles of roadway. That's both directions. So it's, you know, half of that for each direction. Now, you can see that you're looking at the entire roadway here or partial. We're going to click on partial because we're not interested in the entire roadway for this particular project. And then you drop down and you'll see a list of different cross streets. So we're going to pick two. We're going to pick Druid Hills Road. And we're going to pick I-285, which is right here. So you can see that cut down that road tremendously in the map, but it's a little small. So you come up here on the three boxes here, plus minus to zoom in and out, and a center on selection, and it'll zoom it in to your selection there. Okay, so this is the section that was subject to the project. Now it's not exactly what we wanted. We're going to trim some of this up here. So what you could do is hover over this particular TMC. Roadways in the suite are made up of called TMCs or traffic message channels. It's a weird name, goes way back, but basically it's little segments of roadway. And we want to cut this one out. So we just click on it and say remove this segment. And you can see up here pops up, you've taken out this particular segment of roadway. And we're going to do the same up here. We're just going to click this little piece off. And now we have a segment that 10 miles of roadway, 20 TMC segments, which matches the corridor, or not the corridor, but the roadway section that GDOT had analyzed. Okay, hopefully everybody's with me so far. If you have your own project, you'll be doing this for a different roadway, or if you decided to just follow along for this particular project, just keep entering the data I'm entering. Okay, Matt, any problems so far with people working through this?
Still looking good.
Good. Okay, now one of the most important things to do at this step, and I do this really for every project or roadway section I'm looking at, or network of roadways, because sometimes you want to look at a card, or say you have maybe a main roadway, some parallel routes and connector routes. Click this right here where it says save as a segment set. All right, because we're going to be using this particular group of TMCs over and over again. We don't want to have to keep figuring it out. We could easily save it. So I'll just put for Georgia 141. Might help if I click on the bar. Virtual training. And if you wanted to have other users in your agency see these TMC sets as well, you just click on that. And then they could also grab that TMC set, do their analysis in their shop. And you just save it. And now that will be saved. So next time, instead of typing in all this stuff and figuring it all out, you come up here to the Save tab. And then what you want to do is show only my segment sets. You click on that. And I'll scroll down here. Whoops. So this is the same segment set I've saved before, but here we are. It's at the bottom because I just entered that. And then you would click on that, and this would all pop up so that you could use this exact same segment set. It saves you a lot of time, especially if you have a complex set of TMCs. There'd be no way to come back every time and try to redo all this information over and over again. It would take way too long. So there's that option there. But hopefully everybody's saved their TMC set by now. I'm going to go down to selecting a time period. So all you do is the two time periods that the project looked at in the original GDOT report was June 2017 and June 2018, the before and the after of the project. We're just going to come up here, the drop down. We're going to pick June 2017. Okay. That'll be, that's the before, and then the, or the range 6/1/2017 through June 2017, the 30th. So we're looking at the entire month of June 2017. That's the before condition for user delay cost. Okay, we don't want to change the data provider right now. It's Georgia 2018 data. That's good. We're on here data. That's good too. You don't need to select any of these others. You could if you wanted, these that are lit up, but we're good with the Georgia 2018 data for volume and the here data for speed. And then this next step, step 5, this is where the cost information is calculated. So you can actually come in here and use these factors from TTI, Texas Transportation Institute, for costs running a passenger vehicle or commercial vehicle. Or if you have better data for your area or your state, you can actually change this and make it even more accurate. And then there's of course percent of passenger commercial vehicles. So again, you can change these numbers to reflect more accurate data by your agency. You can say, check this, use it for all roadway segments. And then here's some definitions of when delay should be calculated. Generally speaking, this is what we use as a default when speed below the free flow speed minus 20 miles an hour. That's assuming congestion is building at that point, and delay is then measured. But you can have some latitude for changing that. You can change the miles per hour, or you can change what criteria for doing the delay calculations. And then you can also calculate the delay against free flow speed or historic average speed. We're going to leave it at free flow. And then we're going to title this thing. So you could say, depending on what your project is, if it's this one, Georgia 141, June 2017, before condition. And then after you've done all that, all you do is click submit. Now, what's going to happen is because these delay calculations are very complex, uses a lot of data, it's not immediately loaded and posted. What happens is you're going to get a report 2 ways. One is to visit My History, and then also there's going to be an email sent to you with that. That's why I asked you to add the second tab that says Probe Data Analytics. So if you go back to that Probe Data Analytics, you'll see up here in the corner, I've already got the My History loaded up, but up here in the upper right corner, you'll see the My History link. You should be on the landing page. So when you see that, click on My History, and this table will come up that shows all the runs that you've done since you've started using the tool. And you can see right now up top, it's processing that before condition. So we could go back to this, the query. And then what we want to do is query for June 2018, the after condition. So all this other stuff stays the same except the time period. So you come up here to the time period, change it to 2018. June 1st, 2018. Now this bumped to 2018 already. Then you just come here and click on June 30th. That'll give the whole June 2018 look at user delay cost. You come down here. Again, you're going to submit that. So now you have 2 different submittals right up here of the user delay cost. So while they're processing, it'll take several minutes to return that data. We can go back and use another tool. So there's two ways to do that. You can click on Pro Data Analytics Suite. They'll take you back to the landing page. Or once you become familiar with these icons, you'll choose something else. And it'll pop up to show you what it is. Performance charts, performance summaries. Here's the user delay cost we just did. So let's do performance charts next. So just click on this icon right here. Okay, now you're on the performance charts query screen. Select the country. We've extended out internationally, so there's a couple countries in here. Now, selecting roads, go back to your save set. You want to show only your segments. And it was at the bottom. Click on that, add the selection. And there you are. There's the ones that you had chosen initially and saved, hopefully, already populated. So you don't have to take extra steps to figure out which way you're going to go, the partial, and figuring out all the intersections. It's already done for you. Now, again, we're going to select time periods. Now, this time you have a choice of days, months, or year. We're going to select months because we're comparing June 2017 to June 2018. Come down here, select 2017, June to 2018. Whoops, I'm sorry. So we want June 2017 to 2017, we want that single month. So when you click, and we only want weekdays. So you uncheck Saturday and Sunday. You could do anything you want here. Typically, you look at Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. That's very typical for design purposes, but we're going to add in Monday, Wednesday, Monday and Friday to get the full weekday data set. Just add that in so you can see we're looking at June 2017 every weekday. We want to add another one. So we're going to do 2018 for June. Everything's already done the same. We just had to change this one date. This automatically changed after that. We add that in. Now we have 2017 and 2018. Step 4 is selecting the data source. It's here. Now, granularity for this particular project, the best granularity I found to get the differentials that you want to see is a 5-minute granularity. And I believe this is what the GDOT consultants used as well, looking at the graphs comparison. So let's submit that. And you'll see in about a couple more seconds, there'll be a chart that'll pop up that shows you the performance for that particular time period and section of roadway. We still good, Matt?
Still doing good. I was gonna say if you wanted to use this as an opportunity while this loaded, we could give everyone a quick coffee break or bathroom break if they needed to. But if you're ready to move on, we can keep going.
Okay. Well, that's going. Let's check on my history so you can see the 2 user delay costs are still processing. They're getting there. Probably the internet's getting hammered right now. Plus, we have a lot of users in Georgia ITS this presentation using it all at the same time. So it's slowing things down a little bit. And here's this other one. Let's go back to this. All right, well, while this is loading, why don't we go back and do another run so we don't waste too much time. Go up to performance charts, or performance summaries, I'm sorry, right here. Click on that. I don't know why that's not working from there. Let's try it from here. Here we go. So if you didn't get something coming up, clicking on the icon, just click on the title here, Pro Data Analytics Suite, go to the landing page and click on Performance Summaries. I'll give it folks a second or two to do that. So again, this is very similar layout in the query screen, the other tools. The most complicated one is the user delay cost. There's a lot more options there for you to play with. Again, United States, country, select roads. Want to select that Save TMC set. Come up here, look only at yours, make it a lot easier. Find your TMC set, click on it to highlight it, and then click Add Selected Segment Sets. That'll pop up. All this is already filled out. You don't have to worry about that anymore. And again, selecting time periods to analyze. We're going to choose months again. We're on 2017, June. And we're going to do the same thing on this side because we want the entire month. That's just the way the query screen is structured. Add that time period so we have all of June 2017 for this particular tool. And as I said, you can do the same date ranges for specific days, days of the week, several time periods. You could just keep going with this if you want to compare a week in July to a week in February, for example. That's where you would get here. But we're just going to keep it simple for this exercise and do June 17 and June 18. And add that time period. Now, here you get a chance to select a time range to analyze the data, and you can add several time ranges if you want. All you do is grab the sliders and move them back and forth. But we're going to leave it from 12 to 12 just to keep it easy, because it's a 24-hour period it's looking at. Let's say you wanted to do, let's say 6 to 9. You can add that time period and then say, okay, I want the 3 to, or let's say 4 to 7 for your PM. All right, and you could add that. Okay, so we're going to add that time range. Whoop. Again, select here data, and then you'll click submit. Let's see what we got going on here. That seems to be hung up for some reason. Okay, this performance chart is still slowly processing, but I see that we have a should have one of the reports ready for user delay cost. So let's open that up. So if you go to your My History, you should see that report finished, hopefully. But if not, let's just walk through this so we can show you a little bit about the user delay cost results. So this is the before condition up here that you typed in, Georgia 141, June 2017 before condition, showing you from June 1st to June 30th. And here you get to choose what vehicles. You can do all vehicles for total cost. You can choose passenger cars, commercial vehicles, and get that breakdown. You can choose a number of different measures, not just cost, but cost per VMT, person hours of delay, vehicle hours of delay, VMT, delay per VMT. Lots of different choices here to choose what the particular performance measure for that section of roadway is. And as you hover over some of this information, like here at 11 a.m. on June 8th, it was pretty bad for whatever reason. And as you hover over it, you can get a pop-up that shows you for that particular time frame, some of that performance measures for that, delay cost per VMT, hours of delay, vehicle miles traveled, etc. And then there's summaries on the sides here for each day of the month. As you scroll down, you'll have each hour of the day right down here. So let's do total cost, because that's where we're interested here. So if you come down here, you can see this number, the total cost in delay from June 1st to June 30th, 2017 was a little over $600,000 based upon that criteria that was in the query screen. Okay, so you can do two things with this. You can screenshot it and get this, or you can export to Excel. So let's export this to Excel. Just click on that and it'll come down as a download below your browser. And then you just, that will be in your download file on your computer. You don't really have to do anything with this right now. It's there. Let's check my history again. And it looks like the after condition has finished as well, which I did not name after and change the date. My bad, but you can see the dates are correct. June 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2018. So again, we got the total cost. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can see that the cost dropped from a little over $600,000 without the project to about $400,000 with the project. So a significant drop in delay cost for the particular project. So you can also export this to Excel. So now you have June 2018, 2017, user delay cost informational. That's one piece of the puzzle. Go back here. Let's look at performance summaries. Okay, that's still going on. Okay. So here's the performance summary charts for each direction. from 2017 to 2018 in June. So this comes up like this. It's dark. It has the percentile shown on the graphic. We want to clean that up a little bit, make it a little bit easier to read. So I'm going to step through that process now. Well, the first thing you want to do is go from dark to light. Right now it's in night mode. Just click on this little box up here in the upper right-hand corner. It'll go to day mode. And then down here on the interactive screen, if you go down to where it says chart data on the bottom, you want to take off, uncheck the boxes that say show 95th, 5th percentile and 25th, 75th percentile for each month. So if you uncheck that, it'll clean up all those fuzzy bands and you'll get more distinctive lines. And while we're here, we're going to change the colors too to make it a little more pronounced between the data. So we're going to, for the before, we're going to make that red. For the after, we're going to make it a little bit different green. Give it a little more pop. You can see it's getting a little bit better and easier to read. Now, this is showing the whole 24-hour period. We don't really care about that. In the original GDOT report, they looked at from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. was the timeframes that they were focusing on. So we can easily do that here by looking under the Y-axis tab. Come down here to custom fit. And then we can change the speeds and the time frames. So we're going to do the speeds first. You can see it ranges from maybe 35 down to maybe roughly 20. So we're going to make it 20 to 40 miles an hour, and that'll change the graphics. So it'll make it easier to read and get more separation between the lines. So here for the max, you just type in 40. For the min, 20. You can see now, you can see much more distinctively the changes in speeds for these time periods. Now for the x-axis, I'm sorry, speeds. We want to compress that down to 10 a.m. 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Again, do a custom fit. You just drag the bar over. 6 a.m. we want to do 8 p.m. And that's a pretty good graphic there, and we'll stick with that right now. Now I meant to do both directions combined. We could do that, but and I can actually bring up another one that has that. But since we're here, what we could do is hover over the graphs, and you can see you get comparisons between 2017 and 2018, and looking at the speed differentials before and after the project. So you're getting maybe 3 miles an hour increase in speeds as you progress throughout the day, which is fairly significant. Here you get a little more pop. There's a big one. So we would use this information to develop the speed increase performance graphic. And you would hope the speeds would increase with the project, and it does. So what you do here is come up here to the upper right-hand corner to click Save As. You click on that, and there's 2 ways you can save it, either in an XML file for use in Excel. We're going to save that. You just click Save. And we're also going to save the image. Now, before we save the image, though, let's look at some peak stuff. So it's not a peak hour, but it's a peak moment. So we're going to click that 8 o'clock period. And we're going to come over here to say, I don't know, 5 o'clock. And we'll click right there. Oh, I'm sorry. You know, click the second one. I forgot. You can only do one at a time, one tooltip. We're just going to hover over the second one. And you can screenshot this if you want. And then you can save it for later use, just so you have those numbers at those 2 time periods. But we'll just we're just going to clear out the tooltips, coming back to the interactive bar over here where it says tooltips, remove all tooltips, and then we're going to save it as an image. Okay. How we doing, Matt?
Doing good.
Okay. All right. I apologize for the slowness of this. The internet must be really getting hammered today. Just so you know, I did talk to the lab maintenance folks who take care of the servers and everything here, and told them that we're going to be using this and they're monitoring the situation. So if it's on our end, they would be taking care of it. So if you clicked on performance summaries, you go up to your My History, say Open Report. You saw the performance summary popped up. But what I want to tell you too is when you have this group of data in your downloads and reports, you can actually open up this data set that's in performance summaries with other tools. Now, in this one, you can also open it up in performance charts. Some of them have multiple things you can open them up with. Here you can open up the performance charts and trend map. So you have some choices. They're kind of complementary tools. So if you're looking at results in one way, there's a complementary tool that would help you maybe tell your story or get some more insight into the situation you're looking at by clicking on the other tool and looking at the results there. Anyway, let's go back to opening up performance summaries. So here you can see up here you have 4 tabs for each direction and for each time period. So you have the June 2017 northbound, 18 northbound, southbound, southbound. If you click on this, things will change. The numbers are hard to see the change, but we're going to save this. We want to save it as an XML again. And again, it's going to your download folder in Windows. And we'll also save it as an image just so we have that. Now, here you have a choice of checking this box. And it's nice to have because it provides all the definitions for these different performance measures. A lot of people don't know what buffer time is or planning time or a buffer time index. So if you click on this, you'll have those definitions at the bottom of the sheet and it comes in handy. You don't have to use this particular graphic, but you can then copy the definitions and put them into your particular report. And we have that on our report too. Very simple though. So let's say image, we're going to say include that definition. You can see when I click on it, it'll pop up momentarily at the bottom. Okay, so we have some speed charts. We have this performance summaries, and we have the user delay costs. So the next thing we want to do, the last thing, is the bottleneck report. So you can either click here to go back to the landing page and click on bottlenecks, or you can click on this number 1 to get the bottleneck ranking tool. Okay. So again, same thing, select roads, TMC segments from here. We don't need to deal with that. Go and say, looked at your saved list, show yours only. Choose your TMC set and click add. We want to do the time period again. So we're going to pick June 2017. Through June 2017. From the 1st to the 30th. right? Data source is here. We're going to skip this. I don't want to get into this, and submit. So we're going to do this twice because this is only going to look 1 month at a time. So we need to do this again for the after. So click submit. And then while that's running, I think it actually, no. You can go back to your query screen for bottleneck ranking, since we only did 2017. Everything's there already for your run. It seems to be a little frozen there. Let me close some of this stuff out. There we go. All right, so to get to the after, we need to change this to June 2018. So we already have June. Change that to 2018. Click on the first. Come over here. It's already changed to 2018 here. Just need to click on the 30th. There's that full month of the after, same data source. Click submit. Any questions or concerns or issues, Matt?
Nope, just technical questions I'm handling on the side. So I think we're,
Cool.
I think we're okay.
All right. Okay. Now, while we're here, I want to also point out that you can click on this list over here for all the queries you've done in the past, and it'll start whenever you first sign on to the PDA Suite and start doing queries, it'll save it. So my list goes back to, I think, 2015. Yeah, April 2nd. So about 5 years of queries here. And then you can choose specific groups of queries. Like if you want to look at a bunch of congestion scans you've done over the time, you can do that. Trend maps, whatever. And you can also save them as favorites. So for the example this morning, I starred some of these reports. If I click on favorites, those are all the runs that we just did. Now I did earlier this morning. So you can easily get to those things if you have a big long list of different queries. Let's go back to all. See if these are done yet. So just click on bottleneck ranking. And you can see that here is the 2017 before dashboard. It's a number of different what we call widgets that make up this particular bottleneck dashboard. Let me walk through this with you. Hopefully you have it up on your own screen. I'll give you a second to do that. So it's made up of 4 different widget areas or dashboard areas. First of all, here's the title of the query, which was that segment of Georgia 141 we're looking at between Druid Hills Road and I-285 during the before period for June. So this table here is a ranked table of all the bottlenecks that occurred on that particular segment of roadway during June. So there's 18 of them. You can see, you scroll down over here. And we're interested in the Druid Hill Road at Georgia 141 intersection. If you just click on that particular button, checkbox there, it's the 3rd ranked bottleneck for this particular time frame on this particular section of roadway. So now you can see it changed all the information on the bottom to a map that shows you the head of the bottleneck. And there's these segments here will tell you how this location was part of the head of the bottleneck. So you can see it moves back and how many days that was affected. So 29 out of the 30 days, there's queues that far back. And if there's any events in the area, either accidents or work zones, you can click on that and get some information there. Just basic information. Now, I believe Matt told me that your all's ATMS is going to be updated so that we could start ingesting data to run some of our other RITIS tools, in particular, incident timeline. So that's a terrific tool. So if you had an incident here, you clicked on it, you could actually see a timeline if you had that available. And what that does is brings up a vertically integrated profile of a particular incident, from notification to final cleanup and reopening of the roadway. It shows operators' notes. It shows the timelines for all the responders, when they were notified, the travel time to the site, how long, when they arrived, how long were there, when they departed. Shows DMS messages. You can hover over a bar and get the exact message that was put up, the congestion that was there. It's a great tool. We use it for our after action review report template. Anyway, so that's the map that shows you the head location and southern segments back. Here's, which is probably my favorite part of the bottleneck ranking, is called the time spiral. So in the center is June 1st, and then it spirals out. Each one of these little tick marks is a day. So if you spiral out, it'll show you all the bottlenecks that had occurred in that location over time from June 1st out through this final band out here, which is June 30th. So it's a great way to visually represent the data and the bottlenecks that are occurring out there. So most of them are falling within 0 to 2 mile range. There's a couple there that look like in the 2 to 5 mile range. But this is the situation in 2017. And then we have some new additions here. This is the elements graph. So right here you have Druid Hill Road. And these show you the number of days congested from the bottleneck location. So if you hover over the lines here, you can see the number of days that each one of these, for these time periods, that the roadway and this particular intersection was affected. And if you go over up top here, it'll show you the average miles for those particular bottlenecks over time. So as you scroll along here, you can see the average miles changing and the time period and how many days it was affected. And over on this axis is the total number of hours for each segment of the roadway between intersections. So for example, here, you have the total number congested, 88 hours out of 720, 12% of the time it was congested. Here, 15% of the time, and so on. You move down here. Just another set of information that you could use as you scroll down here. Now, right now, if you wanted to save these widgets, you can only save the image itself. You can't, there's no database associated with these, but you can save this table up here, which I'll get to in a minute, as an image and as an XML. I'm sorry, just an XML. So you can see I clicked on Georgia 141 South at Druid Hills Road. This first part is what we call a bottleneck profile. These three things: an average maximum length of the queue in miles, the daily duration, and then the total duration of the bottleneck during this period from June 1st to 30th in 2017. Some of the influences that may have occurred to make the bottleneck worse. So there were some events or incidents that occurred, 16 of them during that period. The base impact and some of this other information helps to develop this rank over here. So using this other information, especially total delay, you'll get a ranking of these different locations. So it is a pretty bad location. It's the 3rd out of 18 in this particular time frame in that particular location. You could also hover over when you see a hand pop up. You can sort on these particular columns. I wouldn't do it right now, but you can click on them and say you're interested in, well, I want to see what the average max length of these bottlenecks were. And you can click on that and it'll sort it based upon that criteria. Everything else is sorted on this base impact number. And then if you wanted to do some more analysis, instead of jumping back out and doing another analysis, say, and performance charts or user delay costs, you just click right here on these two icons and you get that information right away, which is kind of handy to have. So if you could click on up here, this tab for the Save As, and you'll save this chart as the bottleneck. And again, this is for 2017. We need to grab 2018. If you go back to your My Favorites table, you'll see that it should be finished processing up at the top. You click Open Report. Now I'll take a moment to populate the graphics. Okay, so we're searching for Georgia 141 south at Druid Hills. We scroll down, you can see now it went from the 3rd worst bottleneck to the 10th worst. So, pretty significant improvement there. The numbers will reflect that here. I mean, I didn't go over the specific numbers, but you'll see later on that there was a significant improvement there. And you might notice that there's a lot less bottleneck occurrences here in the time spiral. Before it was 0 to 2, and then there was also some 2 to 5. It's pretty much gone with the 2 to 5 and just 0 to 2, and there's less of them. Now, one thing that I thought about while I was doing all this was, hey, it'd be great to get a count of all the individual bottlenecks throughout that time period posted somewhere so you can do some further analysis. So what I was suggesting to the folks, the developers that manage the tool is, why don't we do something like this? We have a before and an after condition. These are the two screenshots of the two bottleneck ranking time spirals that we looked at just now. So you can see on the left of before, lots more. There's some bigger queuing going on. To the after condition, after the project, a lot less. But it'd be great if you had a total number of bottlenecks for each one put here, and it just help you decide, okay, there was a reduction of X amount and a percentage reduction to, it would just help come up with some numbers and put some numbers to these dots. I mean, visually, yes, you can see that it was less, but it would be nice to have some numbers too. So that's in the works now. When I send something to our team, they usually create a ticket, but there's literally hundreds of tickets. I couldn't tell you when that would be added at this time. But something I think that would add value to this particular graphic. And there's other options here too. If you wanted to look at the elements graph, which is over there, but there's an elements table, which gives you a number of different bits of information that you could save as a table. You can also look at a timeline, which is sort of like the elements graph, but it's more linear. So same kind of thing here. But a lot of folks like the time spiral because it's pretty easy to understand. Okay, how we doing, Matt? Did you want to take a like 1 minute break for people to use the bathroom and grab a coffee or something?
Yeah, I think that we're at a good mark for that. We're about an hour in.
Yeah.
So why don't we? I have 12:38 right now. What do you think? Maybe 12:42. The mark. 12:43.
12:42 in 30 seconds, Matt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we aim for 12:42 to get back? So if you need to run, grab yourself another cup of coffee or run to the restroom, let's take that break now.
Sounds good. See you on the other side.
All right, John, I think we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, cool. Okay, so hopefully everybody has downloaded all the information from the 4 different tools. So I'm going to close this out for a minute. And then I'm going to bring up 2 things just to show you as we walk through this thing. First, I want to show you the design sheets. So this is just a way, as I mentioned earlier, to take those different elements that you saw in the 2 pages of information, the summary page in the front and the performance charts in the back, and easily create the different graphics and tables because they're already been custom designed. And then you just take those, you copy them and paste them into report format. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But so stepping through this real quick, the first page that we talked about, the project summary information, a lot of that would be on you to provide that information. I think Matt had sent out earlier a little package that talked about some of the things to bring to the table today, such as a project description that maybe 50 words, some of the key milestones for the project timeline, a couple words there, some dates, that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of things that you would need to finish out this report, some of the key aspects of the corridor and such. So it's pretty straightforward. You know, before we get into that, let's bring that up. And just walk through these first three things real fast. So if you're doing the cover, obviously you want to pick a photo that's germane to your project. And it's easy, you just click on that photo that's there now, you delete it, you bring the other one in, you send it to the background, which I'm assuming folks are, you know, somewhat familiar with PowerPoint at least, maybe power users of PowerPoint, but it's really easy to do. It's just a couple clicks and you can send that to the background. So that blue kind of swoop in the front will be in front of the image. And then you add your project name and any descriptions that would help there, the date, and anything else you would think in this blue area that makes sense for you. So here's this area that I just talked about, the project summary. So maybe a little background or description of the corridor goes in this particular box. Some key corridor details, such as, you know, 23 intersections, ADT is 56,000 vehicles per day two-way, lies in a heavily warehoused corridor or something like that. So you just add some key aspects of the particular corridors, a major commuter route, things like that. And here you could talk about project effectiveness. I found over time that rather than waiting to talk about how effective the project was, it's better to put it right up front. And that way it does two things. It gives them the information because people have such short attention spans, especially if you're talking senior leadership, legislators, those folks that don't have 5 seconds to focus on anything. This gets the information to them right away. And the second thing is it may pique their interest to look further into it. So you want to put something up here about the project effectiveness, how it improved, a quick little project location map. That's on the design sheet. I'll show you, come back to that in a minute. This is all editable, and so are all these things. All you do is click on the box, fill in your own text here, and you can move anything around. You can delete text boxes. Hey, I don't want this corridor detail thing. I want this whole space to talk about my project background. You could do that easily enough by just deleting some of these things and stretching out the boxes. So it's totally editable, sorry. And be customized to your needs. And then over here is a box, just a little blue color to pop it to either talk about the corridor itself here, or you could talk about the process with the RTOP. However, whatever you want to put in here to value add the benefits of the project. And you could also talk a little bit about maybe the stakeholders and the collaborative effort that were used in this particular project. Things like that would be good for this particular box here. And at the bottom is the project timeline. Again, this is in design sheets, so you can build it to look something like this or add your own. So it's just kind of boxed out for specific information that you would have about your project that you can add here or use these graphics, modify them and pop them back in. And up top, of course, you can add a background photo or just a black header if you don't have a photo, pretty easy to do. And, you know, project assessment report, your project name, et cetera, et cetera. And then of course the back cover, the back cover, same thing, photo, contact information, and you're done. So those things shouldn't take that long to do, especially with the design sheets. And if you already pulled this information in there, this is where we're going to be focusing on now, is looking at developing some performance results graphics that you'd seen earlier and putting them in these spaces here. Now over to the left, you can see there's little dialog boxes, summary boxes, I guess you would call it, of the effectiveness of the project for these particular performance areas. So speed, bottlenecks, really bottleneck reductions, the reliability, the delay costs, and hours of delay, things like that for these particular things. Now, I mentioned before about reliability. If on the performance summaries, when you click on the chart, there's a box there to get the definitions of the different measures, such as buffer time and planning time index and such. So we're really keying on just three things: travel time, buffer time, and planning time. So there's just some real basic definitions I left here at the bottom so that folks can understand. I mean, everybody knows what travel time is. It's getting from point A to point B, but buffer time, the extra time you need, and then planning time is the total time you need to get to your location relatively on time, every time. So let's go back to the design sheets. And I just wanted to show you here, and I may actually have to bring this into just the PowerPoint because I can't move things around in fact, let me do that in slideshow. I'll come back to slideshow too, but so here, everything is editable. As you click on here, you can see each dot that represents an intersection. You can move it around if you want, take it out. Just say, I want to delete that one. There's nothing there. You can edit these roadway names that are key to the corridor. You can change the colors here. You can, I put a blank interstate shield, but you can grab those online of different interstates that cross the roads or major corridors. So you just want to kind of define in a simple way the project in the terms of its location and some of the components. In the original, document that GDOT had done with their consultants, there is a simple graphic like this, but it was overlaid on a washed out aerial graphic or aerial image. So you can see the geographic context of the area, which is great, but just trying to keep it as simple as possible. So all these elements here are editable. So, and they're also grouped. So once you finish doing what you need to do, you group everything. In fact, I'm not sure that's all grouped there. You just come up to picture format, say, group, and it'll group all those elements together. And then all you do is copy and paste that into your report as a picture, because if you don't do it as a picture, what'll happen is as you resize it, the text will get all screwed up. And it's the quality of the picture when you paste it into your document is very good. So you don't have to worry about that. Same thing for the timeline. You have little boxes here. You can add your months and year. You can type in what milestone or steps or things are important to the project proceeding from conception to deployment, for example, and add that in. And here's some of the charts we're going to be looking at. This first speed chart, now I can go back to, well, no, I don't want to leap back. I need to show you some things here. This is what you saw in the original. And what it is just a couple of clips from the performance charts showing the different AM, PM peak speeds before and after. And these boxes here kind of just highlight areas that you want to maybe key in on. I mean, you could resize these things and just have people focus in on this particular location. You can add specific numbers here if you wanted to. It was just a way to kind of bring attention to certain areas. Like this is definitely, you know, for this direction, this is the peak hour in the AM, and this direction is the peak hour in this direction for the PM, for example. And then a simple graphic here to show, because things will improve over time, you might say, okay, improved up to a certain percentage, whatever that percentage is, 10, 15%. Maybe take the maximum differential between the two lines, get that percentage and pop it into here, or you could put a range here if you wanted, showing the before and after lines. So a good graphic, but this particular graphic takes a little bit of work because you have to clip out this from the graph. And then for this one, because now you're coming in the middle, this started over at the end here. I had to clip out this piece and then add it to that. So it's a little bit of work, and it's not hard, but maybe you don't want to do that much work. Instead, last night I was thinking about it and I came up with this as an alternate. And it's just a simple, or like speedometer graphic. So for the northbound AM peak hour, say, you got a 12.2% increase in travel speed from the numbers, which is about 3.1 miles per hour. What's nice about this graphic is all these tick marks, you can change it. It's probably reasonable to have these numbers here. I don't think it's going to get any greater. And you can click on this particular graphic here, and you see these little yellow dots that appear up and top and bottom of that. What you do is click and hold on that, and you can drag it back and forth. So it only increased 5%. Or you could say, wow, we got a really bang for our buck on that, increased 25%. So it's a nice graphic and graphical way of presenting the information. It's easy to adjust. Same thing with this middle needle, the speedometer needle. It's just another visual to help point to the numbers. So you can just grab this little rotation thing and just spin it around, and you can move that to whatever you need. So if you want, okay, that was a 5%, you come up here, you drag that back down, it was a 5% increase, not 12. And then this, it just helps to visually cue you into what direction this is going. So you could just say, okay, you could leave it like that, or you could drag it down like this and say, okay, that particular month or whatever had a 5%. So it's just a way to represent the speed data too in a different way, as opposed to the charts here, which may take a little more work. And it's easy to maneuver. And then you just, of course, come in here and just change the numbers to whatever you want to. So the reliability graphic is really built the same. I built this first. So let's just zoom in a little bit here. Same deal. You come in here, you change the lines. Now, reliability, since it's going, you have less travel time, right? Because it might take 10 minutes, now it's taking 8 minutes. We're going the opposite direction. So we put the arrows this way and the bar this way. But you can do whatever you want. You have the latitude to change it either direction. So you can come up here, pull it this way, make this the top. So it's sort of like a clock here, since it's talking about time. You can even put there's a clock graphic here for travel time. And just, you can add some, values here if you felt it's necessary, but I think that works. And then the other graphics would be the user cost table. We're going to add in 3 values here, before and after user delay cost, which is the total dollars. We talked about the 600,000 and about 400,000, 392, I think. Hours of delay in person hours, and the delay per VMT in minutes per mile. All those values get in here. Then you can put the differences in here with a calculated percent change. And same thing for the bottleneck table. So you add in, okay, at SR 141 south at Druid Hill Road, you have the before condition, the after condition, the month and the year. And what was the differential in terms of the bottleneck length in miles and total congested time for the day. How we doing, Matt?
think we're doing good. I think Garrison was curious about getting back to the user cost analysis, which we just touched on. So we'll see if that answered his questions, and if not, we can circle back to that.
Okay. And you know, just so you know, there's a ton of help available on the website. If you come up here and say you were on your My History screen and you click the help, lots of help information about how we do things, what was considered, formulas, all kinds of stuff, metadata for all these things. So between this and the video tutorials, hopefully that'll answer your question. If you get stuck, if you're doing things, you know, outside of this tutorial. Okay, so let's look at some of the data now. So I'm going to go up to my downloads, and let's see. I think I'll start with so this is the user delay cost table information in XML that I downloaded from the site of the results page. So you can see right down here is the total cost for June of 2018. So normally what I do is real quick, let's make this a little bit bigger so we can see it better. We'll make that 22. Or not. Oh, I don't know why that's not doing it, but it's not. So what we're interested here is, if you go back and you're looking at the design sheets, you have user delay costs. So it would be these two numbers that you're looking at, the 392, 279.70. So that would be one number that you want to move into the table. So if we did that, right, 392, 279.70. And you could change the format to be dollars, but then you just add in that there and the after, which is taken from your after run. So if you go back to your downloads and find the after condition, I'm sorry, that was the after condition. See, this is why I shouldn't have, I messed up and I didn't label them right. This is the before, the 606,569. So let's just copy this, paste it over here. And then we'll make this 606. Now the format's a little messed up, but you get the idea. So this is the before. User delay cost was 606,000 roughly, and then the after about 392. And then you would calculate the difference in terms of numerical values, and then the percent reduction is showing some green down arrows because reduction in this makes is a positive trend. And then what you would do here is go and then go to the next category. You could do vehicle hours of delay. Figure that out. delay minutes per VMT. I wanted to show you just taking those tables we just looked at and just making some simple additions to them, make them a little bit better. I just made the headers bigger, highlighted the two bars here that show time and date and the results for daily totals and hourly totals, and then the final number. So that's what it would say it look like before, and this is what it would look like after. And then down here, some simple calculations showing the 606 minus 392 is 214, and that's a 35% reduction. So if you came back here, you say, okay, 214, 289, you just type that in here. And that's a 35.3% reduction. So you build your table like that with that information using hours of delay, which we did person hours of delay. And then the other category was delay for BMT. Same thing, you get the totals at the bottom, you do a calculation, you bring it into the table. So once you have the table populated, all you do is copy it. And then you open up your report. Delay cost, so get rid of this placeholder. Right click anywhere. Now you want to click, save it as a picture or paste it as a picture. So we did that. And all we had to do is resize it, bring it down here. And you're done. Right, so that's the delay costs. Now let's try the speed charts. I'm going to use the speedometer graphics because I kind of like those better than the other graphics. Depends on your audience. If you have, I guess, peers or technical folks, maybe you do want to show the graphs and value add to those, but I think the speed graphs work for a lot of folks. So let's get this out of here. And so we wanted to look at the speed chart information. So you would go to your downloads, open up your performance charts data, which is right here. So just to see these numbers better, these values, I just highlighted all these columns here, right click it, let's say column width of 25, just to set them out a little bit. And so for every 5-minute increment, if you remember, we did the 5-minute granularity, you're going to get a speed. So you can have somebody come in and calculate the speeds for every hour, June 2017, 18 northbound and southbound, and calculate that all out. But we're not going to do all that here. It's too time consuming and we're kind of running out of time. So let me show you what I did earlier. So here's the results page that we got before. Modified, so if you remember, we did that. I just circled the 2 time periods, which were the moments in time that were within the peak hours, but had some decent differentials. So down here, AM peak hour speed increase, 12.2%, 3.1 miles per hour. And then in the PM, these values here. And they were all positive because the speeds were increasing, which is a good benefit from timing the signals. So then we would take these values and go back into our speed graphics here. And I already kind of added this information in. You can see 12.2% and 3.1 miles per hour AM peak, southbound PM peak would be 3 miles an hour, 13.8. So you basically just type that information in there. And you could adjust these sizes, anything you want. And as I said before, you could just change these up to represent graphically what this increase was here, and as well as the dial. So you would take this, again, make sure it's all grouped. And an easy way to, if you don't know, to group is to just go like this, highlight it. Well, actually, it's already grouped, so it's not going to let me do that. But you can see it's all grouped together. You just right-click on that, hit copy. And let's bring that into the speed results part of the report. Get rid of the placeholder, paste that in as a picture, bring that up there. And then we want to go back and grab that southbound one. Let's do that, copy that. Paste it as a picture. Oops. And then you can fool around with this a little bit. Get it sized just right, located just right. I had a little divider line in there I put in. Not sure where that went in, but we'll just throw one in real quick. Give a little bit of a gray highlight to match the rest. So that would be your speed performance results. So then let's do bottlenecks. Go back and open up your chart. And let's first get these columns a little bit wider. Oops. Let's make that 15, see where that gets us. Yeah, that's pretty good. So here's where we're interested in. Druid Hill Roads, let's just highlight that. And so some of this, there's other information here like starting TMC, longitude, latitude. You really don't need that information. You can just highlight the columns and then just click hide, takes that out of there. Make these a little longer. And so here's what we're interested in for this before condition. Average max length and average daily duration. So those are the two values we're going to put in the table. Let's open up the 2018. And you do the same thing with the columns. Right click on them, make them, say 25. Well, that's a little too big, isn't it? Hide these guys. And oh, I must open the wrong one. Oh, I must not have saved that last one, but fortunately, I do have that. Summaries. Here. So again, these are the same tables that I just opened up, but just made them a little bit easier to read, highlighting certain aspects, such as here in the before condition, The rank of that particular bottleneck location was number 3. Here's the average max length and average daily duration, numbers that we want. And then if you look at 2018, after the project, you can see it drop down and the numbers drop down as well. This is 0.35 average max length. I'm sorry, before it was 0.72. So significant reduction. You can see the numbers down here where you have total congestion time of a reduction of 2 hours and 31 minutes per day, 41% reduction. And then the max length of the bottleneck, almost half of what it was before the project. So that's significant reductions there. So you would take that information. Once you do the, pretty simple calculations, all it's doing is you're either subtracting numbers or getting percentages of numbers. Opening up the design sheets. This is the bottlenecks. And again, so here, your bottleneck length is 0.72. And the after was 0.35. Oops. Calculate your differential and your percent. Same for the total congested time. So you'd have 6 hours and 3 minutes. And 3 hours and 32 minutes. And then you figure out which the differential is there. Again, copy. Open up your report. Get rid of the placeholder. Paste as a picture. And you have that done. But the last is a reliability one. This would be the performance summaries. Okay, so again, come up here to the columns. Now there's little divider columns in between all these. When I make these bigger, they're going to get bigger too. It's going to look a little weird, but I'll bring up the one I had done previously to show you what it could look like to make it a little bit easier. So again, for this speed, we're really going to concentrate on the speed. Let's highlight these boxes. Oh, that's right. I was not in editing mode. Speed, buffer time, planning time. Let's not do speed. Buffer time, planning time, travel time. So we just maybe like highlight these boxes. And then what we're interested in is the weekday values. So you just draw these across here, get those values. And this is for 2017. You do the same for the 2018, which would be this table here. Now, what I didn't do here was combine the two directions into a single direction. But let me show you what, because it makes it a little too complicated. Well, let me bring that up. So here's those raw tables that we just saw. And then I combined them and jazz them up a little bit, make it a little bit easier to look at the data and find what you're looking for. So, and it's just simple Excel stuff, right? bigger text, shading. I took out the grid. I'm assuming folks know how to do it. I'm a big fan for removing the grid. It just makes things look terrible, and it's very, I don't know, distracting to me. So if you go up to view with the grid lines, without the grid lines, it just really cleans things up nicely and it makes it look a lot better and easier on the eye. So again, up top here, you have the before condition. We're looking at weekdays only for buffer time, planning time, and travel time. Here's the after condition, weekdays, buffer, planning, travel. And then the differentials down here calculated both for the numerical value and the percentages. Again, some significant benefits from the project. And then you would bring in your sheet here. We get rid of that. And let's go and open the design sheets. Okay, now these are the three graphics here. I'm only going to do, because we're kind of pressed for time here, I'll do one and then just copy it 3 times, but it's the same idea. So let's look at that. Say the travel time. We have 1.02 and 4.7. So the travel time reduction is 4.7%. So that might look about right. You can increase it or decrease it at whatever you want. You can also color code these. So if it's a little bit improvement, you can make it like this olive green. If it's a greater improvement, you can make it a darker green or yellow to a green, something like that. But whatever you come up to help visually clue your readers into the amount of increase or decrease here. Say, okay, that looks pretty good. We're going to copy that. Paste. And as I said, we're just going to copy this 3 times because we're running out of time. So I'm going to copy that. And let's line those up a little bit because that's the way I roll. Distribute horizontally, get them even across the board. And there's your report with the results from the queries that we just did. Matt, questions, comments? Too fast, too slow, just right? I know we go ahead.
I think you did it just right. And as promised with our advertisement, I think we managed to put a report together in under 2 hours. Couple little shortcuts here, but I think without our presentation and without my long monologue at the beginning, I think we would have had it.
Yeah, and listen, folks, I know it was a whirlwind for y'all, especially if you don't know the tools. But if you get on there, start using them, start get familiar with them, and developing some results, it's real easy to use, and the results are great. We didn't really get into too much of using the visualizations themselves, like the time spiral, for example. That's a great graphic to include. There's congestion scan, which is another one. It shows you, a sort of like a heat map of congestion before and after. That's very persuasive and powerful for folks to instantly grab or grasp what's going on. And another very popular one, especially for presentations, is trend map, because there you can show in an animated fashion change over time of different hours of the day or days of the week, before and after. And that's a very compelling tool result that people use a lot, especially, like I said, in presentations, as well as posting online. You can embed code. It's a simple click from the tool, and you can get embed code for your website that can show different changes in traffic patterns over time. I know that some of our MPOs use it for traveler information. So for example, if you're traveling on Thanksgiving and you want to know where the hotspots are during different times of the day, the entire week of Thanksgiving, you run the trend map and it'll show you over time in an animated way, that kind of information. So lots to explore, lots to try. I just highly suggest you go to the website, learn from the tutorials, and just start playing with it. And if you ever need any help, I will be more than happy to help you either build reports like this or explain to you the tools. We have a terrific support team that if you're having issues or you want to make a suggestion or whatever, you just can email them. It's a button on the tools for contacting support, and be more than happy to help you out.
Well, with that, I think we can go ahead and wrap up. For those of you that are interested, I have posted a link over in the chat for our regular monthly trainings. Go ahead and just, feel free to click that link. Those trainings are held once a month. They don't get into what John just did, but they get into how to use the tool, both the live map as well as the PDA Suite on a regular basis. So again, definitely recommend that you check that out. If your agency has signed that data use agreement, then all those resources are free to you to use. If you haven't signed it yet, certainly recommend that you do. Nothing too scary in the data use agreement, just agreeing that you're not going to resell the data or do anything nefarious. With that, I will, I guess, hand it to Whitney or Bill to see if they have any closing remarks about any trainings that we have coming up.
Hey,
Thanks,
Matt,
everyone.
before we jump into that, can I just share my screen again? I just wanted to put my contact information up real quick for folks. And those guys can talk, I guess. So, like I said, be happy to help out whatever you want to do. I just so you know, I reached out, or North Carolina DOT reached out to me recently after I did a dog and pony like this about the different templates, and asked me to put together a template for their TSMO quarterly report outs. So I did that. I gave them 2 different looks, an infographic style, more traditional like you saw here, and they presented to senior leadership, and they thought it was great, exactly what they're looking for. So I'm more than happy to help you guys out. That's all.
Okay,
Great.
thanks everybody. Matt, Whitney, John in particular, thank you very much for a great show. Our next seminar is a week from today, and there's a link in the chat if you haven't registered for it. Please go ahead and sign up today, and looking forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.